Hey guys, what's up? I want to talk to you about sensory overload. Sensory overload is something that I experience more and more frequently in my adult life than I ever experienced growing up. And especially since I've had Emerson, I'm just less likely to cope with things and less likely to be able to handle it well. Ain't that the damn truth? So a sensory overload usually happens when something is going on in my environment that is just too much for me to process, and I either have a fight, flight, or freeze response. When it's happening, I'm not able to articulate it. I can't explain it to people, and it's not a rational or reasonable response, so I'm not surprised that many times people are just like, oh, she's just being weird. But I'm going to do my best today to try and break that down. I'm going to go over my top triggers and kind of give you some of the behind the scenes, what's going on in my head when that's happening. Before we get into it, you know the drill. Like this video, and if you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I put out videos once a week, which is amazing. I'm so proud. But I make videos about all types of things related to mental health, being neuroatypical, being ADHD, having antisocial personality disorder. Finally said it correctly. And turn the bell notification on so you don't miss any uploads. Okay, let's get into this. So, I want to start with a little disclaimer because I just gotta. I am doing this all based off my own personal experience, and I'm not giving you like scientifically accurate information. There are actual labels for these things, but I'm just going to explain when I have a sensory overload. So this is based off of my personal experience. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to go over the 4 biggest sensory inputs that are most triggering for me, and they're in no particular order, but I think I'll probably end with the most triggering one, because they're all pretty much even, but one of them is worse than the others. All right, let's count down. Number 4, tactile. Tactile, touch. Tactile, touch. I'm saying it so many times it sounds weird. If I am touched in a certain way, I have to feel like it's balanced. And if I don't feel the balance, that is when I get this overload feeling. So I'm not sure, but this would be called a hypostimulation because I need it on both sides. So if you touch my hand here, you have to touch my hand here. And if I chew on this side of my mouth, I have to chew on this side of my mouth. I have to have this very balanced type of feeling. And I get very frustrated or like, okay, right there, I can see myself doing it in the viewfinder. If you rub my hand in the same spot repeatedly and I don't get to feel it on the other side, it literally makes my skin crawl. And it sounds so weird, right? So like, my boyfriend can be holding my hand. Greg would never do this because he loves me too much to ever put me through that misery. But if they hold my hand and rub here, you have to rub here. And it's a very weird feeling for me, but I would say that this one elicits a very physical response. So it makes my skin crawl. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, gives me goosebumps, and I can get things that this could also be like clothing rubbing me in like seams or different threads or tags. That's something that bothers me. Not too much, not as much as the actual balance thing. I have to have the balance. Number 3, visual. I have to be very careful if I am anywhere that's going to have flashing lights. It's a physical response also for visual lights. I would say that it's very disorienting. So Emerson has a light in his room that you can turn on with the remote, and he has this little mode on it where it flashes like fast, and he calls it party mode. And party mode makes mommy not feel so hot. I get very disoriented, and it's not like I'm having an epileptic seizure or anything. I just cannot handle the flashes. Same if we're driving and there'd be a tow truck or a police officer. That makes it incredibly hard for me to be able to drive. And I know that's kind of the point. They want you to slow down, but I mean, like, I cannot see past it. I can't see anything else but that. And it's very weird. The party mode on the light, we can do that and it's okay because I can shut my eyes. But if I have any other type of stimulus going on with that one, that could very easily send me into a sensory overload. I have to be careful to like be sitting down or not standing. Like I don't like to move around a lot, and that makes me just feel very disoriented and dizzy. And that one doesn't have too much of like the physical response where with like my skin or anything like that. That's more in my head and my balance. Number 2, this one's a little bit odd. I don't know if it's one that many other people would have for sensory processing, but I cannot handle being overheated. And this is also a very subjective experience because I get hot like you would not believe. I get hot so frequently and so irregularly, it doesn't make sense. Especially since I've had Emerson. My hormones have just been out of balance ever since I've had him, and I don't really know what to do about it. We've tried different medications, different birth control and stuff like that, and it hasn't really changed anything. So I think I'm just stuck being a hot mama and not the way I wanted to be. Dang it. I get a heat rash. So it's like I get very hot, and I've learned that if I get hot too quickly in a humid environment, but I'm not able to break a sweat, something happens and it triggers like an actual heat rash on my neck, kind of like sunburn, and it's just very uncomfortable. So when I'm hot, I am so much less likely to, everybody's probably a little bit more irritable when they're hot, but I'm less able to hear people. I'm less able to see things going on around me. I'm very, very short-sighted and can only focus on like what's right in front of me. I probably look like I'm very faint, like I might not be feeling well, and I am overheating, but it's not so much that as it is I'm unable to deal with anything outside of this. So like you can say something to me and it would be like I'm not listening to you. I know that I just can't hear anything else, and sometimes I have to focus on something right in front of me, like something small, like I don't know, like anything, like a ball or a toy, anything like that, right in front of me, and kind of focus on that for a few minutes until my body can regulate, and then I can get through it. But if I try and listen to people have a conversation, if someone tells me to do something, if I have to watch something, like it'll be too much. And the heat quickly escalates into a fighting response. I get angry, and I think that's normal. I think most people, when they get overheated, they get angry or short-tempered. But it's when you ask me to do something or listen, when something else is required of me other than just being hot. Yeah, being hot sucks, but like if I'm hot and then I have to be listening to the children say something or listening to this or getting, instructions to do something, I can't do it. I really just can't. I cannot retain anything that's going on. I can't even like see what's going on outside of like my short vicinity. And then number 1, my worst trigger is definitely auditory. Auditory stimuli, girl, I cannot handle too much noise. And it's noise in all different types of way. It could be loud noises, sudden loud noises, sharp loud noises, like constant noises that are just never ending. Too many people talking at the same level. White noise that doesn't go away. Like a weird white noise that I hear and I'm not sure if I hear it. Like like that high-pitched squeak. It can be anything. And for me, when I feel auditory, that's the one that gives me the most symptoms, like the most sensory overload. I would say that it could go a couple different ways. I have one response where it's like just so overwhelming that my only reaction is that I gotta get away from it. I gotta get away. I know I would say that's kind of more of like an anxiety reaction, but I just cannot process anything, and you'll see me get very flustered and unable, and I'm just like, I gotta get away. And sometimes it sounds counterintuitive, but I listen to headphones a lot. I wear headphones because I can hear that and focus on that instead of everything else going on around me. I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense. That's why I feel like people have a hard time understanding it, because I look like I'm being rude, but like this is the best way for me to kind of process what's going on in my environment. I can have a conversation with 2 people in a very crowded, noisy room. You bring one other person into that conversation and it can be too much for me. The other day, Emerson and I were laying in bed, and my sheets are like microfiber, so they're pretty warm. So I had him and my puppies, and we were laying in bed, and he was watching his phone, and I decided to pull out mine, watch a YouTube video. And his was like a song, so there was like singing and loud, noises on there. And then I watched just somebody talking, and it was way too much. My body, I felt like I got chills, I got that clamminess on me, and what happened is I didn't react to it fast enough, and then it got me sick. Not like physically sick, but like I felt so fatigued and just it was not a fun feeling. So yeah, that's my sensory overload experience and triggers. I hope that it made sense. I'm not really sure if it did. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want to add to it, or if you experience any of these things, definitely let me know down in the comments. I plan on making more videos for sensory processing disorder because it's something that I want to learn more about. It is an avenue that we're exploring for myself, and my son was diagnosed with it about a year ago. And I don't know, it's so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating that I just thought that these were just my weird quirks. I never really thought much more about it. And now I'm seeing it how much it really interferes with my life. Like I said, it definitely has been a lot different since I've had Emerson, but interesting. If you guys have any questions or suggestions for future topics, definitely leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like this video and let YouTube know that they should recommend it to other people. That's all I have for today, guys. Bye.